The natural world is affirmation of the unity of all that exists. And for me, as a practicing Muslim, I see the hand of Allah. I see the hand of God.
We have 4 scholars presenting here this evening. We're at the University of Maryland's campus. We're very proud to be here, and I want to thank Sister Fatima Jackson, Dr. Fatima Jackson, for offering us the space to have this dialogue. It is important to know that the Scholars Chair can be found online. This is the opening page of that website. The web address is www.scholarschair.com, where you will receive a number of lectures like this online, and you can get them in their entirety. You also will be able to find the Scholars Chair on YouTube, which is available by typing in Scholars Chair into the search engine, and the programs will come up. The 4 presenters will be introduced to you by Thomasine Williams, who will be the MC tonight.
The Scholars Chair is an award-winning television program whose mission is to demonstrate unity between religious values, philosophy, and modern science. Tonight, our topic, natural law, source of convergence between science and religion. For more than 4 centuries, there have been conflicts between science and religion. There is the belief that truth cannot contradict itself, and that eventually truth in science must agree with truth in religion. Our presenters will explore the similarities and parallels between the scientific and religious viewpoints. Parallels do not always prove that the viewpoints are correct. They only prove that viewpoints or paradigms have commonalities in certain aspects. In most cases, commonalities are similar in broad sense, but not in their details. With this as our backdrop, the presenters will address the following questions. If natural law exists, how does it inform human judgment? And does natural law explain the coherence of diversity? Finally, is it necessary that science and religion be separated? Our first presenter, Dr. Fatima Jackson, received her undergraduate and master's degrees as well as her PhD from Cornell University. She has received many awards for work in biology and education. For 15 years, she has been a professor of biological anthropology at the University of Maryland. Dr. Jackson is a scientist with a commitment to the Islamic tradition who offers us a unique perspective. We at the Scholars Chair are proud to present to you Dr. Fatima Jackson.
And so let me see if I can address the points that were raised. When we look at the world, we see that there is cohesion, there is organization, there is structure, and that structure is not haphazard. And yet, there's still a randomness in a scientific sense to the structure. And it's important to make sure that we understand our terms. When scientists speak about randomness, what we mean is that there is a pattern, we just don't know what the pattern is yet. So that perspective really informs us and keeps us searching for the organization, the larger organizational structure, the laws, the rules that govern the natural world. And humans are a part of the natural world. Absolutely no doubt about it. We are a part of the natural world. We have the responsibility, almost as a keystone species, as we say in ecology, that our actions have a major impact on the lives, the survival of many other species. But that doesn't divorce us from being a part of this world. We see around us a great deal of diversity. And yet, when you look at all of life, at the various levels of organization, if we drop down to the molecular level, what we see is that all life on this planet is in fact made up of the same material. And I tell my students when I teach courses about evolution, about human adaptation, about selection, what I tell them is that look around you, look at the world, and do you not see that at the level of the DNA, that the petunias, the monkeys, the humans, the rice, all made from the same material, the same bases, the same chemicals, just organized slightly differently. And all of this, to me, is another indication of the hand of a single creator. Just as you would not confuse a Van Gogh painting with a Monet painting. You'd not think that there were multiple creators in producing what we see on this planet. So the natural world is affirmation of the unity of all that exists. And for me, as a practicing Muslim, I see the hand of Allah, I see the hand of God in this unification. So reconciling the diversity is not difficult. We know that in the course of human evolution, that we start off as a single type of human, and then we diversify. And then from that diversity, we see that we haven't created different, we don't have different types of humans, but rather now on this planet, we have only one type of human. Now, 2 million years ago, there were many different types of humans, but it's been reduced to one, which is something that perhaps we should be alarmed about, because that's usually one of the first stages towards extinction, that there's a reduction in species diversity. But we have, we are what we call a polytypic species, which means that there's no one kind of human. There's only one human, but we have many different forms on this planet today. But again, if we go down to the molecular level, again, at the level of the DNA, we find that we're very similar. And in fact, even the differences between males and females are minimal at the molecular level. In terms of the relationship between science and religion, it is for me an artificial dichotomy. Science is a part of culture. Religion is a part of culture. I can't imagine an existence without both. And the best of religion affirms many of the scientific principles that we're just discovering. And I'd like to give you a few examples of that, if I may. In the Quran, Allah talks about grabbing the sinners by their lying, sinful forelocks. And we said, what's this? What's up with these forelocks? Well, why the forelock? Except that that part of the brain, right here in the frontal lobe, is where moral judgment rests. And we know from people who've had lobotomies, that is, that part of their brain has been destroyed, that they've lost their moral judgment. That people who were moral, who interacted appropriately, were then unable to do so because of damage to that part of the brain. So it's very interesting, you know, a phrase from the Quran, which was initially assumed to be allegorical, ends up having a scientific foundation. It can be affirmed to have scientific meaning.